To tip or not to tip? A very English dilemma, with a long history and a serious point. Tipping is one of those everyday habits that feels simple until you think about it. In England, it sits somewhere between politeness, tradition, and quiet confusion. Do you tip? How much? And crucially for trade unionists, does the money actually reach the workers? A short history. England's tipping tradition has always been informal, faintly awkward, and shaped by class. The word tip is often traced back to 17th century London coffee houses, where bowls marked "to ensure promptitude" invited customers to reward quicker service. In Victorian hotels and gentlemen's clubs, tipping became a status symbol for the wealthy, quietly passed to porters and waiters expected to remain invisible. Outside these elite spaces, however, the custom never truly took hold. England's preference for fixed prices and fairness meant tipping stayed discretionary, a gesture of thanks rather than an obligation. Across the Channel, France used le tronc, a communal tip box still seen today, while the United States took tipping in a very different direction, building a low-wage service economy that relies heavily on gratuities. England chose another path. Service staff here have long been paid wages, not tipped wages, which is why tipping remains optional, restrained, and rooted in appreciation rather than necessity. This legacy that still shapes how people in England are tipped today, how we tip in England, and why it matters. In restaurants, 10 to 12.5% for good service is normal if a service charge isn't already added. Taxis, round up. Pubs and cafes, usually no tip, though a few coins in the jar are a friendly gesture. Hairdressers and hotel porters, around 10% is appreciated. The percent amounts are just a guidance. In 2023, the Employment Allocation of Tips Act was passed to protect hospitality and service workers, ensuring that tips, gratuities, and service charges are allocated fairly and transparently. The Act prevents employers from keeping or skimming tips and guarantees that money left by customers reaches staff as intended. Although it received royal assent in May 2023, the Act came into force on the 1st of October 2024. From that date, employers across England, Scotland, and Wales who receive or control tips must pass on 100% of qualifying tips and service charges to workers, aside from lawful tax deductions, operate a clear written tipping policy, keep records, and distribute tips in line with a statutory code of practice. The legislation marked a significant step forward in tackling long-standing abuses in the hospitality sector and strengthening workers' rights. That is a win, but only if we stay alert. Always check your bill. Ask how tips are shared. Transparency matters. A world of difference. Compare that with the US, where 15 to 20% is effectively mandatory because staff rely on tips to survive. Japan and Scandinavia, no tipping at all. It can even cause offense. Much of Europe sits closer to us. Tips are appreciated, not expected. Context matters, and copying American habits wholesale does not always help workers in England. A question for members and why. This is a trade union issue. When you tip, do you know where the money goes? If a service charge is added and there is a blank tip line, do you ask why? Would you rather see higher wages and fewer awkward payment screens? These aren't small questions because they go to the heart of dignity at work. Hospitality staff remain among the lowest paid workers in the UK economy, despite working long hours, evenings, weekends, and holidays, often in physically demanding and high-pressure environments. Many are on or just above the legal minimum wage, with insecure hours, short-notice rota changes, and little access to sick pay or progression. Rising rents, energy bills, and food costs have hit these workers particularly hard, meaning that even full-time employment does not always guarantee a decent standard of living. That is why supporting hospitality staff matters. Tipping appropriately, checking that tips actually reach workers, and backing campaigns for a genuine living wage are not acts of charity. they are acts of solidarity. These workers keep our social lives, local economies and communities alive, and they deserve fairness, stability and respect in return. As Workers of England Trade Union Secretary Stephen Morris puts it, tipping should never be a substitute for a living wage. Our priority is making sure workers are paid properly by their employers and that any tips left in good faith actually reach the staff they are meant for. So yes, tip appropriately, tip thoughtfully, but above all, support our bigger fight. Decent pay, clear rules, and respect for the people who keep our pubs, cafes, restaurants and hotels running. Because good service deserves recognition, but fair wages should never be optional and rely on tips.